r/AskReddit by Redmond ETS. What's the worst thing you've seen at a wedding? Outdoor summer wedding in Texas. The groom's 90-plus-year-old grandmother died during the reception. They found out when she couldn't be roused for family pictures. Outdoor wedding. Bride gently fed wedding cake to her new husband. Groom shoved cake at his new bride's face so hard that it broke one of her teeth. He kept pushing her until she tripped and fell over backwards. She broke her wrist when she tried to stop the fall. There was blood dripping from her mouth. The groom's father then began to beat the living shit out of his own son. Good times. Edit. For those inquiring if the couple is still married. We were staying overnight at the small bed and breakfast at which the wedding took place. The mother of the bride invited us and some other hotel guests to the wedding and reception. We have no idea what happened after that day. Oh god. My boyfriend's oldest brother's wedding. One of his mates got plastered, lost control of his bowels and shat himself. In a kilt. Picture the scene. On a dance floor at a working man's club in Glasgow, a drunken 40-something standing by himself in an ever-expanding circle of people looking at him in horror, whilst an equally expanding puddle of shit gathers on the floor. On his calves. On his shoes. Yeah. Edit to add. My boyfriend remembered something which I had totally forgotten. When the shit began to hit the floor, the groom looked over, saw what was happening and shouted, "For fuck's sake, Mick, get to the fucking toilet." The drunken shitter wailed back, "Can he move? It's coming out too fast." The boyfriend compared it to watching a cow laying out a cow pat. Yeah. The pastor went through and updated the bride's name in her script, but didn't accurately change the script for the groom. Sometimes he was John, others Matt, occasionally Mike. The groom had to say "My name is Steve" when the pastor said, "Repeat after me. I, David, take you." I used to be a wedding registrar. I conducted one wedding where the bride's father had passed away the year before. The ceremony was held outside in a venue's walled garden. Upon entering the garden to take their seats, the guests were met by a skeleton which was dressed up in the father of the bride's clothes and asked to shake his hand. It was an overcast day, had rained earlier but weather was clearing up. Bride and groom went to take some photos after the ceremony. A kid, probably 6 or 7, unsupervised, ran up to a puddle the bride was carefully walking past and jumped in it. Her dress had mud splatter all the way up to her shoulder. I felt so bad for her. At the reception, a guest looked at my cousin's wife and said, very loudly, "Who brought the whore?" And no, they didn't know her. I told this story in a different thread the other day, but I feel like it also applies here. A friend of mine caused some drama at her own wedding because she wasn't drinking champagne. A bunch of the older ladies on her side of the family noticed and decided the only possible explanation was that she was hiding a pregnancy. They started pointing it out to anyone who would listen, even going so far as to say they see a little bump under her dress. I guess these family members weren't close enough to the couple to know two very important details. The bride is a recovering alcoholic. She doesn't drink, ever. Not even at her own wedding. The bride and groom had been trying to get pregnant for probably 2 years at that point, and were starting to be resigned to the fact that they wouldn't be able to have kids. This was eventually confirmed, but they did not know this at that time. At the after party, the groom spent the whole night watching a basketball game on TV at the bar. Couldn't even be bothered to turn around and say hi to any of the guests. Just sat there at the bar, eyes fixed to the TV the whole time. When it was time for him to make a speech, he just said, "You know, this was supposed to be a special day, but my team lost, so I fucking hate it. Fuck all of you. This sucks." Needless to say, that marriage lasted all of a week or two. The bride's grandfather died while she was walking down the aisle. The ambulance was there in less than 5 minutes, but the paramedics called it after resuscitation failed. They removed the body and, after a brief period of consultation and people pulling themselves together, the wedding ceremony went ahead. No exaggeration, the time between Grandad hitting the floor and the ceremony restarting was less than 45 minutes. I did not attend the reception. but I heard from others that it was a rager. Went to a wedding where everything went well. Got to the reception and the alcohol was flowing. My husband and I drank and got on the dance floor. The groom's side were very proper while the bride's side were quite the opposite. Everyone is dancing when all of a sudden the cousin of the bride grabs the mic and says, "This song is dedicated to your wedding night." He motions for everyone to clear the dance floor and cues the DJ. Madonna's Justify My Love starts playing as the cousin starts crawling and rolling on the floor while lip syncing. It was easily the most awkward moment while everyone stood there watching his overly sexual performance. The song finally ends and it's dead silence. I will never forget this moment. My youngest sister's wedding. One of my sister's friends was wearing quite a short summer dress. She spent the evening sitting in a manner that let it be known that she wasn't wearing any underwear. She waited till someone looked in her direction, pulled up her dress and spread her legs. Very disturbing, especially given the number of children running around. Pales in comparison. But a total white trash wedding. By the time the bride and groom got from the church to the reception, less than 30 minutes, the entire wedding party was obliterated drunk. Each of the wedding party was introduced and were varying degrees of undress. Ties missing, jackets gone, dresses hiked up, barefoot, etc. The bride and groom were introduced and came walking in. The groom was wearing a bow tie, boxers and dress shoes carrying a whiskey bottle. The bride was wearing what I determined were either white panties or a bikini bottom, a white sheer cami and appeared to be braless under her veil and cowboy boots carrying a natural light case of beer. Their parents were given the beer and whiskey and proceeded to start drinking. About the time I left with my girlfriend at the time, her co-worker. The bride was dancing with her friends wearing nothing but her new husband's long tux coat. And it often did not cover anything as she kept it unbuttoned. The best man was feeling her up. Her bridesmaids were wearing their dates' shirts or coats and their bras and panties while grinding on their obviously turned on dates. The groom was legit passed out under a table. Less what I saw, and more what I didn't see. The priest forgot to actually marry them. He did the whole ceremony, including a part where he gifted the couple an invisible shovel they could use to dig their way out of problems, and a part where he actually gifted them a painting of people picking potatoes. But accidentally skipped the vows section. He had to get the couple back together after they got back from their honeymoon to perform that section by itself so that the union could be recognized by the church. Aunt of the groom got so drunk she stripped naked on the dance floor. She snuck back into the wedding and offered people BJs. They had to carry her out wrapped in blankets. A guy showed up to my brother's wedding wearing shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt with a picture of a fish on the back with the text, "Can't catch shit fishing team." I couldn't make that up if I tried. The priest couldn't pronounce the names of the bride and groom correctly, was painfully unfamiliar with their circumstances, and used the occasion to remind everyone that the Catholic Church stands against abortion and to vote accordingly. Went to a wedding and they ran out of food for the last 2 tables. We had to order pizza delivery and the bride's family didn't offer to pay. All at the same wedding. Groom doesn't show up until an hour late. Tux does not fit him at all. Bride and groom's toddler son was allowed to play with a toy truck during ceremony around the feet of the bridal party. At one point lifts the toy truck and slams it into the shin of one of the bridesmaids, drawing blood and interrupting the proceedings for a good 10 minutes. Not to be outdone, the groom is starting to look unwell. He passes out, falling down a small set of stairs. Upon regaining consciousness, he runs out of the small church out the back. 10 minutes goes by, then 20. He returns with his tux shirt pulled out, unbuttoned, and wide open, bearing chest hair and a gut. He returns to the bride, and they finish the ceremony with him like that. Charging $2 for a piece of the wedding cake. White trash wedding. The bride, 3 kids with 3 dudes, had her sister, 4 kids 4 dudes, as maid of honor. During the part of "I will always be faithful," the sister said "liar" loud enough for all 14 people in attendance to hear. The groom later passed out in his truck during the wedding and a bridesmaid climbed on top and straddled him. The bride pulled her out by her hair and had a fist fight where blood was spilled. The DJ left early so someone drove their truck into the tent. Outdoor wedding with a tent for reception with plywood on the ground to keep the music going. A fallen cake fight broke out where the whole cake was destroyed. My friend's wedding was officiated by her childhood pastor, who went off script and delivered a tangent about how the first marriage is the only legitimate marriage, and his church doesn't believe in divorce or second marriages. The groom's dad has been married 3 times, and all 3 wives were sitting in the front row. The pastor had met them all at the rehearsal the previous day. Bride was struggling with nerves, so the bridesmaids kept giving her shots. She was too drunk to walk down the aisle. She wasn't at the reception because she threw up on the dress. So I wasn't at the wedding, but I was the trauma nurse who attended to the bride. Groom didn't realize those turd cakes have wood skewers in them and slammed his wife's face into it. She lost an eye, 2 teeth and needed more stitches than I can count. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.